Hey guys, welcome back to Bixby's Beer Reviews. So happy to have you here with me today as we start a new little playlist series here. I've had some fun reminiscing with you guys about some of my favorite beers as we talk about new ones we're checking out. So I thought, why not just cut directly to story time? We're going to start a little hashtag BBR Faves series where I indulge myself at length talking about some of my favorite historical beers that they're still around today, and I see how they stack up both to my memory and to the best stuff that the Silver Can factories are churning out today. So I want to start this series in a perhaps less than auspicious place, a Hilton Garden Inn in suburban Oakland County, Michigan, late 2016. That's where I first had today's beer on draft from Old Nation Brewing out of Williston, Michigan. M-43. This is the double dry hopped version. Originally just had the original version, but that was a very important moment for me because it was the very first hazy New England IPA I ever had that I actually enjoyed. There was something about the ones that I had had before where either it was just too vegetal, too thin, too this, too that, real green eggs and ham situation. And then I had this one, and I suddenly saw what all the fuss was about. And I think, that's going to be a significant moment in any beer nerd's life when they first encountered the hazy that allowed them to appreciate what the style was capable of. And so I thought the first place I'd want to kick off this series was with that moment for me. So let's crack open this can of M43, which now fortunately has distribution here in the Commonwealth. Take a look, see what we got. As many of you know, I work for a company that's based in Michigan, which means I have to travel there fairly frequently. And for a long time, I've been there since the early 2010s, the ability to get unfettered access to Bells and Founders on tap was more than enough of a reward for being there, even in the depths of January. But we're talking about my business travel history because, it's a New England IPA. You guys know what's going on. You've seen it before. Let's get to those beautiful aromas. What I've come to think of as the classic hazy IPA aroma. The hops here involved, I should say, Citra, Amarillo, and Simcoe. And this does what I see so often when Citra and Amarillo team up in a dry hop, which is you get a blast, like you walk past the Orange Julius at the mall. Just an incredibly rich, verdant, citrusy aroma that runs the full spectrum between the sweet fruit, the slightly bitter pith, and the very fresh zest. Now, what I will say is that this aroma isn't quite as overbearing as a lot of other IPAs that I've had since then. It doesn't just smack you in the face with sort of those hothouse, almost tropically sweet aromas that a lot of them do. It's much more restrained and has a little bit of a nod to an old school West Coast IPA hop aroma where you get just a little bit of a sort of bitter pininess underneath. I mean, that would be the Simcoe. And I think that more restrained take is sometimes what you want. You don't want to always go, full milkshake hazy. You sometimes want to dial it back to something that's a little bit more recognizable as a classic IPA. So that's what it smells like. Let's go ahead and give it a taste. Delicious. Now, it again, like with the aroma, I would say that this isn't a full juice bomb body in the way that some of the most current, really intense hazies can be. Rather, I get that orange juicy character that you get from the aroma, but I also get some softer, sweeter fruits, a little bit of a kind of a lychee thing, a little bit of kind of pulpy mango. And then it has Simcoe in fairly decent evidence here, where I do get a kind of piney, apparent bitterness. It's not an IBU thing, but just more of a bitter flavor to contrast with some of that sweeter fruit. And so it's a little bit more restrained and a little bit more balanced. Now, this is one that I've had both very fresh on draft and in cans, and more so than maybe any other beer where I can say that. I'd say this one plays very differently on draft. That's where you'll get sort of the more modern extreme blast of sort of like an orange creamsicle, incredibly sweet, thick aroma and flavor. And sometimes that's what you want, but to be perfectly honest, I might like it canned a little bit more now as I get a little bit older and that type of thicker hazy has become more common. It was something to see just from a technical perspective when I first experienced it at that Hilton Garden Inn low these many years ago. But now as I get older, I appreciate a little bit more balance, a little bit more nuance, a little bit more room for each individual hop to play here. So being able to see the citrusy flavors of Citra, the sweeter, more tropical flavors of Amarillo, and then the pininess of Simcoe all have a little bit of room to play. To me, it makes this a little bit of cut above, a little bit more nuanced, a little bit more interesting, and something that I'm definitely going to have on the shelf in my fridge for many years to come. And so thanks for joining me and remembering this very fun beer from my personal history. If you can get it these days, especially if you're in the great state of Michigan, driving around near Lansing or wherever you can find this beer at your local Hilton Garden Inn, I encourage you to check it out on draft too, because as I said, two very different impressions, something you don't always see between can and draft, but something that I've been very interested to see happen here. So thanks for joining me for this beer. Very much look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, bye now.